der zentralen Position. Nur Schwarze hat er noch vor sich. Dann ist es Fernhoff. Er ist im Strafraum. Und der Feld. Tor! Tor! Für die Frankfurter Eintracht. 5:1. Herrje!
Hi, and welcome to the German Fußball podcast. Another weekend, another exhilarating Bundesliga round. And as always, I am joined by Dad Jan Fjørtoft to review, analyze the Bundesliga round. But first of all, Dad, it is kind of relevant to the topic, to the podcast, but how's your weekend been?
Well, first of all, I think you had a quite calm weekend, and normally yeah. Now, I was, which is very for this podcast as well, because as you know, I'm doing the most I do now is Premier League, because that's where I'm sent. But then ESPN asked me, because Archie, our friend of the podcast, he had to go to a big Greek fat wedding on Friday. So ESPN asked me a couple of 3 weeks ago if I could do a Bundesliga game. And I mean, doing Bayern against Bayer Leverkusen was fantastic. I haven't been back since Haaland was there, which is some time ago. Going back to Munich, going back to the club, I kind of last time I had a connection with them wasn't I told them the CEO would be fired, Oliver Kahn. Not that I was excited to see how I was welcomed. That was not a problem. But you never know in football. These are the people you worked with. The head of communication, Dita, is always there. There's a lot of good people there.
They didn't get after you?
No, they didn't get after me. And there was one guy in the board. I just went over to him and said hello, as you do. And you know what Bayern knows about is all about the intrigues and soap operas and power battles. So that was no problem. But it was a fantastic football game. Leverkusen. I mean, we said before the season, this is the time where everybody said Leverkusen will do well and then they'll fail us. But Alonso, wow, Not only the background has got me Liverpool, Bayern Munich, and Real Madrid. I mean, you know, now it's like it still looks like he's
he could play.
He could play. I interviewed him before the game, and my first question to him was to kind of building a bridge, saying that is Leverkusen and all that thing. But you come in with your winning DNA. And he was so good at explaining that. I mean, he was a good man, Markus. I'm not saying I got man crush on him, but but he was a very, very likable. And you know, I'm quite sensible for those kind of things. It's not that I just have to work with people that I do like, but it was good to see him. He's a guy. He has a vision. With Simon Rolfes as well, there as the head of sport. They have a vision at Leverkusen. They're going places. And I mean, the game was fantastic. I think, as I said again, the best game I've seen in 2023. And for everybody out there who basically loves their English football, loves to go to England, watch game. Wow, you have to go to Munich. You have to go to Dortmund. You haven't fulfilled your life as a football fan if you haven't seen a game live at Allianz Arena or going to Signal Iduna Park in Dortmund.
I want to extract from you, Dad. I guess you've been there, right? So you're recommending us to go to this game and the atmosphere, and what a great promotion for the Bundesliga to have that Friday night game with Bayern Munich against Bayer Leverkusen. Bayer Leverkusen that's in real contention for the title so far, it seems. But twofold question, I guess, for you. One, how does it feel being back in Germany? How does that feel different when you haven't been since Haaland, you said? How does that feel? And then secondly as well, in terms of you analyzing that game, you were able to get, I was following from here, you were able to get some incredible guests, basically, the players. I guess twofold, how did it feel? And then also talking to them in terms of the feel you got from them after the game, and before, for that matter.
Yes, I had Arne Friedrich with me, over 80 games for Germany, defender, great guy. And I have to praise ESPN because very good organized. We were out on the pitch and it was 2-2. I mean, it's the funniest game I've seen, because first 20 minutes, Leverkusen didn't arrive. And I think I asked Alonso after the game, why didn't you turn up before it went 20 minutes into the game? Then it was 20 minutes more or less Leverkusen.
Yep.
And then the last 5-6 minutes before the halftime, Bayern could have scored 4. And then just at the end, Goretzka, of all people, scoring that goal. And then the penalty someone says it was soft, but I think it can be given. And 2-2 for Leverkusen. But I will take our listeners a bit behind the what we're doing at the end of the game, is because I'm standing there. I got my American studio in my ears, so I'm live. So I have an app that I'm following the live. We have Philip, who was my producer, going forward and back, doing all the practical stuff. But still, I have to see when I get to players. So Kay and Al, who are my colleagues at the studio in America, I listen to them. But still, we have to try to get as many players and coaches live. And you're happy if you get 2, Markus. I got 6.
So how did that come about?
We got 6. No, first of all, Leverkusen and Bayern did a fantastic job for us. I think that it says a lot also about the position of ESPN. I think also this says something about the American market, that the Bundesliga tried to extend themselves. I try to see that. It's also a praise to Archie, who has built up a credibility for them. With our team, with Costa, and like a producer sitting in America, he had talked to them before. So I would sit like this. So I would stand with Ander Friedrich, and then I would say, I can see Alonso coming this way now, and I had an eye contact with the Leverkusen communication people, and I was like, "Is he coming? Yeah, okay." So then I would say, "So it will be 20 seconds. He will be with me, and then Alan Kay will talk, and I will say, okay, stop signing. So another 20 seconds, and then we got 6 of them live. We first had because I can analyze the game, how they talk to me. So, and we had Arne Friedrich as well, which gave it a tactical view on it. We have first of Heskey. I think that was very important to have one of the goalkeepers there, because both him and Ulreich had a fantastic game.
That save he had on Kane there. Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm asked him about that. The next guest was Kane. So I was lucky I could ask both of them about that situation. But Heskey, and you have to give it to Ulreich as well, waiting for Neuer coming back, still a bit postponed, always his comeback. But Ulreich did fantastic as well. So that was Kane and Heskey. Then I got Xhaka, which was interesting because that game, it was a big change for me watching so many English games. That midfield battle in Germany is quite precious, it's quite decisive. And if you saw Florian Wirtz, how they kind of, him and Xhaka and his teammate, they outplayed Bayern in midfield. So it's quite interesting to see that this complaining from Tuchel, saying that he wants another number 6, you understand what he's saying. So Tuchel came then, and I had Xhaka, we're talking about that battle, and I said, my first question is, well, Thomas, I won't start with that thing that you want a number 6, because, that where the game was more. And I said, whoa, I better not comment on this, ha, ha, ha. And he was very good. And he talked about that, very good about the tactical stuff of that thing. And then at the end, we got Alonso. And I asked Alonso about this midfield battle again, that he can compare it. I say, you got your experience both from German football and English football. So this midfield battle, you don't see that so much in England. And of course, he explained it brilliantly. He got a fantastic football brain. And I'm asked him about Florian Wirtz, how he's doing him better. I mean, can you get a better teacher in there than Alonso for Florian Wirtz? And then last but not least, Markus, Arne Friedrich didn't believe his eyes. I always trouble with Norwegian milk chocolate. We are very, very proud of our chocolate, the best chocolate in the world, of course. So Boniface, who could have scored 4, but still had a great game, he was going to the Leverkusen fans and applauded after the game. So I said to Arne, could you just hold the microphone? We were not live, of course. So I went into Boniface and gave him a Norwegian chocolate. Remember, he lived 2-3 years in Norway, and he was like, whoa, what was going on here? Very, very, very friendly. And we got Boniface as well. We had a good chat with him, a very shy, humble striker. I asked him if he wanted to speak Norwegian, but I said, no, I think we'd stick to English, which was good for ESPN, I think. But then at the end, when he was leaving, he said, "Tusen takk, thank you." So all these players and coaches we got in live. So I'm not, you know how I'm like, Marcus. People think that when we do those kind of things, remember after the Champions League final when Klopp suddenly starts singing, let's talk about six, baby, after winning the sixth Champions League trophy for Liverpool. I'm one of them. Yeah, okay, that was fantastic, happy for it. But afterwards, what's next? But it was a good weekend. It was the Friday in Germany. I enjoyed that. That was good. I guess it was good to be back in Germany doing a proper, great, entertaining football game.
Yeah, the Friday Bundesliga evening vibes are recommended. It looked great from here, looking at the coverage, fantastic. At that, a fantastic game. And it'll be interesting to see. I think it was great for the Bundesliga title. You know, we'd have built up this kind of big battle of the title contenders, and Bayern would have won again. It would be like, okay. But the fact there was a draw in it, and by all accounts, it was a fair result. And then we can talk about the penalty and what have you. That if you're fine to move on, we go into the other teams. Is that cool?
That is cool because all the challengers won, didn't they?
Yes, they did. And so RB Leipzig, Augsburg, let's face it. I mean, Damen's record there is not very good. But nonetheless, you have RB Leipzig there who are just firing on all cylinders, win 3-0. Xavi Simons, goal and assist. He has now, I believe it is 3 goals, 4 assists in 4 games. Remember, he was joint top scorer in the Eredivisie last season. He also had 8 assists to his name. Went on a free transfer to PSV Eindhoven. Paris Saint-Germain bought him back on the clause that they had and loaned him out again. And for context, a bit untraditional RB Leipzig, that, and please chime in when you feel like it, but the fact that they loan a young player on a loan with no commitment, it's just for 1 year there. But it seems like that gamble, I suppose, has paid off, because remember the amount of departures of key players RB Leipzig come in, and Xavi Simons looks incredible. Olmo's had a great start. You had Openda, the record signing score now as well. Overall, another impressive performance for RB Leipzig at home.
Yes, and as you're saying, the reason you asked me that is because RB Leipzig got a very clear philosophy how they're going to sign players. They're going to be young, they're going to be under 23, they're going to be quick and so on. What is interesting with Leipzig is that old saying, you can't have enough strikers. But what is good about Timo Werner is not playing. Timo Werner is not in the German squad. Timo Werner is not playing. They say he's doing all he can to get back, but I saw Marco Rose said that he got Openda, he got Paulsen, he got Simons, and Werner, of course. So, and Heskey, of course. So he can play with different kind of system. And I think that is interesting with Leipzig. I like this team that are going forward with power. RB Leipzig is one of them. Leverkusen is one of them. Newcastle in England, if you know what I mean. I'm not saying they're better than Manchester City or Arsenal or Barcelona of this world, but it's so interesting to see that with that power going forward. So RB Leipzig is there, scoring loads of goals, looking like they enjoy their football. And Simons look like the deal, and let's see if they can keep him. I think if he keeps on doing, after PSG spent 95 million euro to get Muani to Paris, I guess they will like to have a free Bundesliga striker over there. But impressive, RB Leipzig.
And shout out to Marco Rose. We have sang his praises previous on this podcast. He got fired by Dortmund. Didn't get very long there. Uninspiring, I guess, season, but incredible. Then you have an Edin Terzic, who has the reason he was hired is that because he had that Dortmund DNA and he was consistent with what the top board were looking for. A win in Freiburg that he certainly needed, the team needed. 4-2, and you look at, by all accounts, a 4-2 win away to Freiburg. No easy game at all. But still question marks about Dortmund's performance. Remember, they went 1-0 up and then 2-1 down, both goals in basically a first half stoppage time. And then they get back, and then you suddenly have a Royce back there, and he's having a part of it. Hummels, 2 goals. But yeah, it's now they play PSG in the week. I wouldn't say that Dortmund are totally free of any concern. That, I mean, 4-2, but even still, not all too convincing performances. I don't know how you see it.
Well, I think I see it two ways. I think, as you were saying, winning 4-2 at Freiburg is fantastic. I tweeted, I was following all the games, and I just saw they going 2-1 down in the injury time in the first half. I was tweeting, Dortmund is doing Dortmund things. But to be fair to them, they managed to come back against the Freiburg team, a great Freiburg team, is always playing well. So I think we have to give them respect for that. And we have to get respect for Mats Hummels, who's scoring 2 goals and going forward as a leader. I think it's a lot of things going on now at Dortmund to find themselves, find their own identity. And I think that the minus for them is when the profiles, Can, Royce, and Hummels, they got to deliver, because to keep that hierarchy in the team is very important. Now they're into a group of death in the Champions League. For the rest of us is a group of entertaining. So, I mean, everything they will do there is bonus anyway. So they can go freely into that game. You said that Terzic got a Dortmund DNA, but I'm just wondering how many in the Dortmund dressing room got that winning DNA. We said this before, and I'm not saying that because I will have a go at Dortmund, because obviously I'm quite fond of Dortmund. I've been there a lot. I like the people there, but I don't like this. Oh, thank God Haaland is good. Gone, then we can find another striker. Thank God you Jude Bellingham, because he complained all the time and all that. I don't like that. That is not an image of a top team. But a great win for Dortmund, and they will be very happy with that after those quite silly performances they've had site-wise sometimes this season.
And talking about top teams, I think we should enjoy while we can that, because we're not guaranteed of it, that we have in the top, we have the usual suspects, but we also have a couple of teams that are above the likes of Dortmund, equal on points with RB Leipzig, and that is Stuttgart, and it's Hoffenheim. Stuttgart win 3-1. It's 8 goals in 4 games for Gurasai. That has not been matched since the 67-68 season by a Gladbach player. I'm looking it up as we speak. Peter Meyer, who scored 9 goals in 4 games. I was particularly fond of Bundesliga's article. They did a little profile piece of Gurasai, and they said, player... a similar type of player, Emil Heskey, which I thought, wow, what a random comparison.
What did they take that from? But you do understand it straight away what they mean. Then is just saying, but it's quite interesting. You had him as your Bundesliga player of the week.
I know, 1 week too soon, man. He's
but
driven every week at this point.
Yeah, but you can't do that again. But it's quite interesting. No. But it's interesting, and also Hoffenheim. My friend Alex Rosen is doing well. They're up there, got a 1-0 with Kramaric. Kramaric is one of those players you need to have in your team, because he always do something for you. Great attitude, and they're winning 3-1. It's what's quite interesting when you saw this team with Hoffenheim winning in Köln. I mean, Köln has been struggling this season to get going. Stuttgart winning in Mainz. That is, you just have to do that. You just have to do. It's not like what you do. Well, we just win in Mainz and Köln. But what I wanted to say, Markus, is that because we are talking about the great goal scorers, and we talked about some of them now, it's quite interesting. In Germany, they have this Torjägerkanone. So that means it's a cannon for a hunter, so to say. It's a cannon. It's a funniest trophy you will ever win. But it's very prestigious, of course, being the top scorer in German Bundesliga. And it's interesting. You can tell Guirassy, 8 goals. Stuttgart, Wind, the Dane, in Wolfsburg.
Got another goal of this weekend.
Exactly. Wolfsburg winning 2-1 against Union. Union making themselves ready. Gossen's got a goal for them, making himself ready for the big game this week against Real Madrid, which is what a story that is. Then you have Boniface with 4. Kane with 4, and then you got Behrens, the only German, talking about Union, is the only German and the Torjägerkanon list among the 8 first. Then you have Simmons that we talk about. Then you have Chankara, I think that is how.
Yes, the Czech.
Yeah, at Gladbach. And then you have Openda at Leipzig. It's just showing our friend Füllkrug is not there, he's injured, but still, Germans are still looking for that number 9 of eight top players in the Torjägerkanon. 7 of them are foreigners. Having said that, we're all foreigners, but not German, say it in another way. But some great goal scorers now in German football, and that fun. I mean, people could say, yeah, we know them. Some of them had a good season. Guerreiras, yeah, we know. No, you didn't know enough of him. This is a new Emil Heskey. I'm not sure how happy he is, but Emil Heskey had a great career.
Hey, Emil Heskey at his peak was good. I know he got a bit mocked towards the end. He was good, but it was just such a rogue kind of comparison. I was like, played already. Yeah.
But didn't he play? Wasn't he the striker when England
beat Germany?
Yeah, the B5-1.
Yeah. He was striker. So maybe that kind of etched itself in the German kind of conscious.
He can. I guess he can live with that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a refreshing to see some striker profiles, something that we were in dire need of last season. By the way, on a Hoffenheim Grillitsch goal from halfway, in which he just curved it, and it looked like it was going out until the very end. Like you say, Wolfsburg beat Union. 2 Danes on the score sheet for Wolfsburg. Union won their first 2 games, lost their last 2 games. Gladbach against Darmstadt, 3-0 down. Gladbach were, and then they got a guy sent off in the 50th minute, and then Gladbach got back. And Schwankara had a great equalizer. It was pure power on that equalizer. But Gladbach winless in their first 4 games. So Seoane, we knew he had a job on his hands. It was a bit of a rebuild. And against the Darmstadt, they were lucky to get a point. But I also feel like when we come towards the end, we're going to do our Bundesliga Player of the Week as well. We also have to talk a bit about Heidenheim, who win 4-2. We're so close to winning at Hoffenheim until Hoffenheim turned around. They win 4-2 against Bremen in their first Bundesliga win, and the marking of the longest serving manager in Germany as well, in Frank Schmidt.
Yes, and I think that what we both of us, we have our love for the Bundesliga and the Premier League, but I think the newly promoted team, they have the same story in common, don't they? You see Sheffield United, my former club, 1-0 up, and then Richarlison, of course, comes in and do the equalizer. Okay, we'll take a point. Now we lose at the end. That is just the story, isn't it? When you are newly promoted, you just feel that everything goes against you. You know it's quality, but you don't want to talk about that, because you know, if you see why do the big teams score at the end, it's because they're better. It's because they're passing the ball around. It just makes you more and more tired. And Darmstadt, imagine being 3-0 up at home, and then Maglica get a red card. He scored early in the game. I think it was, I just would check it, 49th minute. And from then out, like you were saying, they're lucky to get 1 point. Same with Heidenheim, really, because they were 2-0 up against Werder Bremen, then 2-1, 2-2. And you think, wow, newly promoted team, here we go again. Give us a win. And to be fair to them, they did. Winning 3-2, getting 3-2, then 4-2. So a great win for Heidenheim. And imagine the confidence that give you. Imagine as a newly promoted team, that is a problem now with Sheffield United. That is a problem for Luton. Luton, get us a point. Please give us a point. Or Everton, who can't score goals. I mean, I worked in the studio Sunday. It was not the greatest day to be in the studio, because those 2 games, they were not like Bournemouth, Chelsea, and Everton, Arsenal. All praise to Trossard. What a goal. That was a fantastic goal on the short corner. But imagine Heidenheim today, going into this week, you come into training, you have your first win in the Bundesliga, and you know what it's all about is that you will have at least 2 teams behind you, and you will always think, well, Darmstadt, can we get them behind us? And you have to see who you can get behind you. And Heidenheim started, it's all about confidence. And I guess we just missed 1 game then. Markus, there is a shirt behind me. My club,
Eintracht, yes, it is briefly here in the corner. I mean, it's one of those where we leave it to them, because I said, which game have we missed? Eintracht. Another week. I mean, 6 points out of 4 games. Same as Union for that matter, but like they won against Darmstadt in the opening game, not all too convincing. Again, another team in a rebuild. But then you have draws against Mainz, who are in this season on 1 point at 4 games. You have a draw against Köln, who are this season on 1 point. You have a point against Bochum, who are down there as well. 3 draws for them. It's just it's hard to get inspired, I guess, by Eintracht at the moment, while they also lose their best player and in a rebuild. So to some degree, you have to be forgiving while they find their feet in a way. But yeah, it's hard to say what kind of season awaits Eintracht.
Yes, I think what's good for them is that they're still in Europe. I mean, Eintracht Frankfurt fans love Europe. They love to go. Can you imagine when the Eintracht fans would go to Aberdeen? Wow,
yeah.
That is good. That's going to be a
iconic ground, Pittodrie, with a lot of history.
Iconic ground. I haven't played. I got played 10 European Cup games, Marcus, and I did that for Rapid Wien, and first one was at Aberdeen. We lost 2-1. The two legendary centre halves, Alex McLeish and Willie Miller, play there. And
did you play the game?
Yeah, I played a game 2-1, and I scored a winner at home. So we beat them 1-0 in Gerhard Hanapi Stadium. It's changed name now, so we beat them. Yeah, it was a fantastic game.
I've only been on the bench there. I never got to play it, but iconic ground.
Yeah, iconic ground, and I had my dad. He worked in the oil industry. I always went from Stavanger to Aberdeen. So Aberdeen was the first shirt I have. Okay, now we're going far away from Eintracht Frankfurt. But Eintracht Frankfurt, I think on the positive side, you can say they haven't lost yet. On the negative side, they haven't been able to kind of make the decider. I think that what the program has given them, they haven't given them the best teams in Germany to start. Maybe that is good. They're talking about the tiki-topi game, the tiki-topi, because he likes to play the game, Topmüller. So I think he has to find his ground. I think they're happy with him. He got 6 points. I think that is okay. But I haven't played the best teams yet. So the jurors is still out there to find how good this Eintracht Frankfurt team is.
Just to end, we're going to do it with the players of the week. I just want to hear your quick thoughts on now that the Bundestrainer is being elected, so to speak. There's a task force. People have left the task force. There is now discussion about old versus new, which is always funny when you go to the basics. Do we look short term? Do we look long term? Do you go within? Do you go external? Do you go foreign? If you can give the audience, I guess, a quick kind of check of the pulse as to where we are now with the current situation.
The problem is when I do an assessment now, what's going on, when people hear this, maybe there's another national coach. So, well, I could be right, I could be wrong. But and I've said this before, is a joke, but I still say sometimes you feel like what the candidates for the American presidency and the Bundestrainer and the national coach they have in common, they're all over 70 years of age, because there was Völler, it was Magath, it was Van Gaal. Van Gaal could be a surprise thing if they take Magath, of course. But the most likely is that Völler says, first, can you believe it? Hansi Flick get fired, then they play against France, and from the first minute, everything is changed. And that's something about Rudi Völler is one of the most popular footballers of all time in Germany. So he takes over the team again. He's done that before. We said that last time, 20 years ago, took them to the World Cup final, losing against Brazil. So Rudi Völler comes in. They win 2-1. The 1-0 goal is fantastic. They haven't made that kind of play in years. And who scores? Thomas Müller. Yes, Thomas Müller was come back, and he scored. So I thought if I should put my money on something, I would say Rudi Völler should do it over the Euros. So because is that what your rationale says, or where your kind of belief of what will happen? Because he's pulled out, right? He said, I don't want to. He says, supposedly. Yeah, he says that because he's 20 years older. It's the energy. He's still ahead of different things. He's a kind of the sport director of the Aleva Bureau. He doesn't want to do it. So who is available is Julian Nagelsmann. Talking about money, the last thing I read was that they had to find out, because the wages at Bayern, he still got paid from Bayern, is nearly half of what he gets as a German coach, that the money is spent. So they have to find a way there. What you do understand with Julian Nagelsmann is that, why should I be national coach now? I didn't think he was a failure at Bayern, but he can be seen as a failure of Bayern if he fails now with Germany as well. That is not good for a young coach. So I do understand that he, together with his agent Volker Struth, is thinking of what to do now. As I'm saying, as people listen to this, maybe Julian Nagelsmann has signed for them. But if I put my money now, and it's now my time, 8 o'clock in Norway, Monday night, I would say I think that still Rudi Völler will take them, because that will be the compromise. That will be the thing, because you need a best ambassador taking them into the Euro. But I'm not sure. This is very open. And the task force, as you were saying, the task force, what happened to the task force? Oliver Kahn, my special friend, said today, this task force is going from a task farce. So it's just a joke, the task force. So what's happening is that the German Football Association said that Rettig, who's been in football in so many different positions, he will be the CEO. So he will be the boss of Rudi Völler. Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, who has been the foreign minister at Bayern, who is this committee there as well, and Oliver Minslav, who's now one of the bosses at Red Bull, the proper Red Bull, not only RB Leipzig or Red Bull Salzburg. He's one of the bosses at Red Bull. They went out to this task force, which is the biggest news in German football at the moment, because they read about this Rettig thing, this putting in that job. They read about that in the media, which is not very good if you got Oliver Minslav and Karl-Heinz Rummenigge there. So they've gone out of that. So it's all going there. The only one left now, after everybody been fired and pulled themselves out, is Matthias Sammer. So what do we read of that? Is that good for him? His friend Watzke is vice president. She is in the board. So it's very complicated, Markus. But I think that the main thing for this is that the Germans, they see to have the Euros as they had their World Cup in 2006 was meant so much to them, for Germany, for the German society, for the brand Germany around the world. They are very worried that we have a good team at the Euros, but that they have the right national coach. So Julian Nagelsmann is free. People think that he will sign. I still think Rudi Völler could end up taking it. And when people listen to this, they will know if I know my stuff or I don't know my stuff.
Yeah, it's always a gamble. There's also the Germany under-21 coach, former coach, who was just fired by Turkey, Stefan Kuntz. He was also been linked. But I think, I would love to see Klopp there. Maybe I'm a bit unforgiving towards the international game, where I'm thinking, surely you can take that as a summer job. You can take those little international breaks. But unless you have something big to say, we can move on to the Bundesliga Player of the Week. I don't know.
No, I just want to say in terms of Klopp. I mean, I've always said the wet dreams of all German fans is Klopp will do it. Klopp won't do it. He won't do that. Yes, he could do both. He won't do that. So then is a plan A, B, is that you can have one who'll take them to the Euros, and after the season, Klopp will take the national team and can take them into the big World Cup in the States and Mexico and Canada. But Jurgen Klopp, he doesn't cancel contracts. He always is loyal to his contracts, and I think he's got a contract at Liverpool to 2026. So he will likely stay there because that is his legacy. That's what he wants to do. So I think that will be a wet dream. The German Football Association will like a long-term thing. I'm not sure Julian Nagelsmann will do a long-term thing. So if Julian Nagelsmann says, yeah, I can do it just over the Euros, then people at the FA will say, well, why don't just you do that, Rudi Völler? You're around. So, okay, let's go to the Player of the Week, Markus. Who's yours? I'll challenge you first.
Okay, so my Player of the Week, in a pool of fantastic performances, in a pool of players, largely attackers that we have picked, I, as a former centre-back, will grab the opportunity of giving a shout-out to a centre-back. And as most other things, they tend to grab the headlines, not because they keep clean sheets or whatnot, which this guy did not do, but he scored 2 goals, and that's Mats Hummels. And I'll say the reason my Bundesliga Player of the Week is Mats Hummels is that 34 years old. He's 35 in December. He had a great last season. Remember, if it weren't for the fact that they lost it towards the end, he would have been highlighted as one of the best defenders in the league, and he was praised, deservedly so. Didn't play the Heidenheim game. So he comes back in, and after all, he's competing against Schlotterbeck and Süle. You can say a lot about the performances, but German internationals. Comes in, I wouldn't say steadying the ship, because they concede 2 goals, one of which, he is kind of involved in when they get the flick on and what have you. But his 2 goals exemplify for me his leadership, and a necessary leadership in what you alluded to earlier, Dad, something that Dortmund's missing, something I even argue Germany is missing. And so there was a bit of talk when he got dropped for the World Cup. I think Dortmund needs a leader like this. You could say a lot about his defending, you could say maybe his tempo, what have you, but he's leading, and his performances last season have been good, and now he scores with 2 goals. So I think he deserves some praise amid this Dortmund Germany chaos.
Well said. Well argued. Mats Hummels, fantastic game. And as you were saying, it was a bit forgotten that he had a great game, a great season last season, because they lost that against Mainz. They should have won the trophy, of course. So my player of the week, I would have liked to start to give it to Alonso, but he's not a player anymore. But you just get a feeling that he could still play. So as I was at Allianz Arena, I have to go with one of the players out there. So I will go with Florian Wirtz. There are 2 magic players in German football that you can give them the title magic. And there's Florian Wirtz and was Musiala. Musiala, the Bayern player, came on. He's been injured, but he came on, and I think it's very important for Bayern that he will be back there. But Florian Wirtz, he's for me symbolized the way Leverkusen is doing at the moment. He's one of those players who always want the ball, always find the space, and that is so important, especially in German football, where a lot of the games are decided in midfield. And it must be a dream playing with him. He always finds. I compare him a bit with Martin Ødegaard. He's one of those players. He's always involved. He's involved in every chance. So Florian Wirtz, I'm talking about injuries, had a cruciate ligament and missed the tournament where he could have been one of the best players of the tournament. This is a player who will go all the way, and he's on his way. And in Xabi Alonso, he got a best teacher of its kind. So Florian Wirtz, stay healthy, stay fit, is just magic to follow what he's doing on the pitch for Leverkusen at the moment.
I agree. Florian Wirtz is a special player.
Time to land, Markus, but I will have my 20 seconds with the Zweite Bundesliga. I follow the Zweite Bundesliga because there is a saying in Norway, we love to watch our football, and the Norwegian second league is sponsored by a big company in Norway called Obos. And there is a saying in Norway, whatever happens in the Zweite Bundesliga in Norway, so the second league, we always say, oh, it's typical of Obos. Whatever happened is typical of Obos. But it's just normal thing, but it's typical of Obos. But this is so typical Zweite Bundesliga. So I just make myself some talking points. Schalke winning against Magdeburg 4-3. Okay, well done, Schalke. Coming slowly back.
They were 2-0 down, mind you, as well. They were.
Yeah, and still winning 4-3. Yeah. Hannover 7-0. Winning against Osnabrück. Only in the Zweite Liga you can win 7-0. Hertha with Dadian, Paul Dadian, but Dadian, yeah, Dadian. I played against him, so I shouldn't remember his name. 3 sons in the team. 3 sons in the team. He's playing it. This is a family thing. Winning 3-0 against Braunschweig. Okay, but then our favorite, typical Zweite Bundesliga, Hamburger Sportsverein, our friends that can never come back up again, the biggest club ever to be in the second league for 5 years. They're playing away against the famous team that everybody in the whole football will know, Elversberg. Elversberg, they're playing there. Of course, what's happening when HSV goes there? They're losing 2-1. So now it's Fortuna Düsseldorf, who won 3-1 in Rostock, who is top of the league in the Zweite Liga. That was the special of the Zweite Liga at the German Football Podcast.
Yeah, well, deserved praise for the Zweite Bundesliga. It is an entertaining league, and there are a couple of nice podcasts out there that only cover Zweite Bundesliga, which I would recommend you as well. As we conclude this, just to remind you, tomorrow or on Tuesday, Dortmund play PSG in Paris for the Bundesliga teams. We also got RB Leipzig playing Young Boys, Bayern away. And we got Bayern Munich, Manchester United on Wednesday. We got Union against Real Madrid at Santiago Bernabeu. Just feel that. Union Berlin against Real Madrid in the Champions League. And then we got the conference games. We have the Europa League games. We have Eintracht, Conference League against Aberdeen. And then we got Leverkusen against Hecken, Swedish champions led by Norwegian. And then Freiburg against Olympiacos away also in the Europa League. It's been a pleasure to I guess reflect on the weekend and your involvement in it, and then we will leave the audience to enjoy and catch up with you next week.
Thank you, Markus. Auf Wiedersehen.